Hey everybody, I'm going to make a little video about the regulators and flow meters that are used for the shielding gas. Seems to be a little bit of confusion based on how I'm finding them set up and shut down, not only by the day classes, but also by the night classes. Part of that, of course, could be my failure to show some of the students that have went on the night class what to do. Alright, so this type of regulator right here is actually a regulator. It regulates the pressure from the bottle to the hose based upon the fact that a set pressure will go through a hole or an orifice that's in here at a certain amount. When I turn this valve on the bottle, a couple things I want to do safety wise. I want to make sure my regulator screw is backed out to where it's loose. Okay, that eliminates it from being over pressurized in here. Sometimes you'll see them where the dial is pegged all the way over here. Don't want that. Okay, I'm going to stand off to the side and slowly open the valve, and you will see the pressure in the tank come up. You shouldn't see the pressure on the secondary gauge come up. Now, I haven't stressed backing this out before, but it seems like some folks are confused about what pressure they see, so they're turning this thing all the way in. So when you shut it down, we're going to back it out. But turning it on wise, I will have pressure in my cylinder, and then I will adjust it to 30 cubic feet per hour. You'll notice there's two scales, liters per minute, cubic feet per hour. We'll turn that in to that's on 30. Now you're properly set up to weld. One of the differences about what should be done textbook wise and what we sometimes do is how far the valve opens. One of the reasons for opening the valve all the way is that it will backseat right here and minimize the amount of leakage through the valve stem. Now, for what we do here in the shop, if we're only going to use it for an hour or two, it shouldn't be a big deal. But sometimes they do leak and you'll use some gas up that you don't need to. So open it up all the way. Okay, you ain't got to bear down on it, just snug. Now, when we shut it down in the afternoon or whenever we're done welding with it, a couple things to do. First thing, shut off the gas supply from the cylinder. Once that's shut off, the proper way to do it is to bleed the pressure off of the system. Okay, now the bad part about doing that is this. When you do it, you're going to have to pull the trigger on the gun and let some wire feed out. Not a big deal. So I don't mind if you leave the pressure in there. Not a big deal. But do this. Back the regulator screw out till it turns freely. And that way the next time someone turns it on, it doesn't peg out. Okay, this should turn freely in your hand. Again, this is actually a regulator. All it does is regulate pressure, but the gauge is calibrated in flow rate because there's an orifice, a small hole in here that tells us that with a certain gas, 30 cubic feet per hour will go through a hole depending on how much pressure we put on it. So this regulates pressure and not flow, but because it's going through an orifice, it does control flow. Over here on this type, this is a true flow meter. The regulator pressure is preset right here, not adjusted. I turn my valve on same way, nice and slow. To set my flow, I've actually got to have flow. I'm going to have to turn my machine on and pull the trigger. The good thing about this is it doesn't put any wear and tear on the flow meter or the regulator by just leaving this set. But for me to see what it's at, after I have my machine set up, I'll turn it on, go over here, notice there's different scales. Look for the one for argon or argon CO2. And you'll notice there's the 30. Approximate flow rate, 30 CFH. Now, that can vary with welding conditions, with gas cup size, all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger, see what we got. So it's running up there about 50. I'm going to go ahead and just turn it down some. And that's it. Okay, so that's got me set on 30 cubic feet per hour. And I can kind of just leave it there from now on. Not a big deal. Okay, so to shut this one down, all I'm going to do is shut the valve. Okay. Make sure you shut them down every time you're done with them and are fixing to leave. Now, if we're going on break, not a big deal. But if you're going to be gone for the day, it's time to shut it down. Shut the valve cylinder off. We're going through a lot of gas. Okay, some of it's because we have leaks. Another thing that you can think of, if you had your own system, for instance, if I shut this valve off here today and I leave that pressure on there, that doesn't really hurt anything. If I come back tomorrow and that's down on 0, I know there's a leak somewhere between here and here. Another thing that I can do is I can shut this valve all the way down. Now if I come back tomorrow, I know the leak is somewhere between here and here. Another couple quick things. Okay, never move the bottles without a bottle cap on them. Never. Okay, whenever you set one of the bottles up, find the place for the bottle cap and put it there and leave it there. Okay, we're missing a few bottle caps. I think they're about 18, 20 bucks a piece. Keep track of them. A couple of safety features on this thing. You should know what this is. This is actually a rupture disc. It'll allow the gas pressure to vent off if this were in a fire and the pressure would build up. Just a bit of trivia for you. Another thing, know what gas you're using. Okay, for gas metal arc welding, we're typically going to always use an argon CO2 mix. A quick way to see this argon CO2 mix is the silver band across the top. Best way to know what gas you're using for is read the label. Okay. Anyway, so that's about it. This hopefully will help you out, help you understand the regulators and the flow meters a little bit better. Same concept goes for the flow meters are over here on the TIG machines. Okay. You'll notice this one here still has pressure on it, and that's okay if somebody shut it off. Let's just see. This is from last night. So it's been shut off. Pressure hasn't been bled off of it. Looks like it's holding pressure pretty good. When I open the valve up, if I see this jump up, I know there's a slight leak somewhere, but it's pretty small, pretty insignificant. But shutting it off, even though the pressure in here is going to leak out, it's not going to use that much gas from the cylinder. So that's the reason for shutting them off. Anyway, that's it. Hope it helps a little bit. Y'all have a good day.